Good evening. Yes, I think the war is getting, and the Israeli army is getting more and more entangled in the situation in Gaza. On the one hand, it's obvious from the stand of the international community that the window of continuing this war is getting closer and closer. And on the other hand, Israel wants to reach or achieve its objective, but the objective was destroying Hamas, and we can see even by the evidence of Israel itself, the figures that by now it probably eliminated 20-30% of its power. So it means it moves with bigger forces at certain point, including the encircling of Han Yunis, but with the killing of the 21 soldiers was not in Han Yunis, but in other part of Gaza. But the cost is getting dire and dire for Israel there. And this really the danger that's what we might see in weeks and months ahead.
Yeah. When, the Defence Force has to break the news that 24 Defence Force personnel died overnight, how much pressure is there brought to bear on the Israeli government around this war going forward? And also, of course, with the remaining hostages, we saw the storming of a parliamentary member by families because the hostages are somewhat forgotten at the moment as this pressure to eradicate Hamas continues.
I think obviously this is terrible. They need to tell the families of losing their loved ones, and usually it's done with sensitivity in Israel. But when someone knocks on the door and you see it, two military people knocking on the door, the families knows what happens next, and the world collapses within a matter of seconds, and this is terrible. And yes, we see that this tragedy on both sides, the killing of innocent civilians in Gaza, the killing of Israel, what happened in the 7th of October, and of course the issue of hostages. And I think the family of the hostages and many other Israelis would remind the government that releasing the hostages and the war shouldn't be mutually exclusive. They should go hand in hand. And the priority for many Israelis, especially, is to see that Israel is going more and more in the quagmire of Gaza to see the hostages coming back. They know that they're in the hands of very brutal organization. There are more and more evidence of their suffering and the way they are treated, especially women, and they want to see the hostages back home. And Israelis know the price is going to be high in terms of releasing prisoners. But it's time, and we spoke about it, I think, nearly a month ago. It was time for a ceasefire, it's humanitarian ceasefire at least, that will see more humanitarian aid entering into Gaza, hostages freed, but also allowing both sides to rethink their strategy, what they are actually trying to achieve politically.
Yes, because as it drags on and the death toll just rises, you wonder what the end point is going to be. You talk about a ceasefire. What hope is there at the moment? We know that Netanyahu politically is perhaps committed to continuing down this path for his own political survival.
And this is one of the major difficulties and something that makes all this war more complex. Having a discredited prime minister, bear in mind, even in the months leading to this war, there were protests in Israel, and his popularity was dwindling before the war, let alone after 7th of October. It's almost his political survivors is tied with the continuation of the war, and this is beyond an unhealthy situation. Israel needs leadership, the Palestinians need leadership as well, but Israel needs a leadership that can see the objective completely detached with their personal survival, and in the case of Netanyahu, the case of corruption trial.
Yossi, he also continues to completely dismiss any possibility of a permanent solution for Palestinian sovereignty of some sort, for the Palestinian people to live in some form of dignity. The US is trying to pressure him behind the scenes, the European Union too. What is it going to take for all the parties to sit down and actually consider what happens beyond the end of this conflict?
Netanyahu, for a long time, doesn't act as a statesman, but as a politician, and as you mentioned, try to survive in power. So he tried to sense the moods among the public. And after 7th of October and this 3.5 months terrible war, the sense is there is, at least among the majority, definitely the base that support Netanyahu, that this is not the time for a political solution based on a two-state solution. But that's why you need someone else in power, someone that can have a vision of peace. Every war needs to look at the peace beyond the war, beyond the carnage that happened during the war. And Netanyahu belongs to the past, not to the future of Israel and the Middle East. We'll see how actually the war expands beyond Israel and Gaza. But at the end of the day, it will be for the United States, I think the European Union, also friends in the Middle East, to tell Israel that the only way forward in maintaining the normalization that is already there and further normalization with other countries must go through the route of a two-state solution and ensuring that what we are witnessing now is going to happen, not going to happen again.
Yeah. Really good, as always, to get your thoughts and analysis, Yossi. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.